Now, the ANC government held a land summit, the first of its kind, at the weekend to discuss how best to deal with the thorny issue of land reform in the country. Now, on the agenda was the party's resolution to expropriate land without compensation. But the party says this should be done without harming the economy or compromising food security. Our very own Fifi Peters, who was there, joins us now with the details. Fifi talks that the Constitution will not have to be amended for this bill to be put in place. What are the other insights that came out?
So, I mean, guys, you will know that this weekend was the most famous wedding that has ever happened. So everybody was glued.
You missed out.
I missed out as people were glued to their TV screens to watch Prince Harry essentially put a ring on Meghan Markle's finger. Other eyes, however, in South Africa remained firmly glued to the issue of land. We know it is a very, very contentious issue in South Africa, in the continent, in fact, because of the ownership patterns, whereby you have a situation whereby blacks own a very small chunk of this land as compared to whites. In fact, if we look at the latest statistics, when the ANC government came into power in 1994, they had promised that, black ownership of land would be at 30% by 2014. This hasn't happened because we do know that the latest land audit report from government places black ownership of South Africa's land at 4%. Now, this is actually
stark difference.
Stark difference, but it also it speaks to the failures of the ANC to make good on its promise to address the issue of land reform in South Africa. And we're not only talking about farming land, we're talking about giving people homes, houses to stay in. Now, President Ramaphosa was there. In fact, many delegates were there. And he, in fact, gave the opening address about the land issue. In fact, talking about the dispossession of land from black people as being the original sin committed by the colonizers. And he said that the current land situation or the makeup in South Africa was actually doing more harm to the economy than good, because it was perpetuating poverty and inequality. Former President Kgalema Motlanthe was also there, and he spoke about the importance of making sure that when land is expropriated, it is given with property rights, because we do know that right now a lot of people don't have title deeds to the homes that they stay in. A lot of farmers don't have title deeds essentially to the farms that they farm. But there was a host of other people there, as I said, and this is some of the things that were said about the issue of land reform.
Well, it is high time that we had this summit, especially after the resolution that was taken at the 54th National Conference. This is the practical implementation of that resolution. What we expect to come out of here is how are we going to do it? What is the environment like? What are the challenges to expect as we implement it? But what message must we send to our people? Because it's time that the land was returned to our people, but at the same time we were saying the land must be returned in such a way that it fulfills what's in the Freedom Charter, that the land shall be shared among those who work it.
We need an effective land reform program with all of its components. And we need a thorough debate and a thorough discussion about how we best achieve our objectives. And the objective is, of course, to ensure that black people are able to access land meaningfully and use that land productively. And so we will discuss a number of things, including expropriation without compensation. In what cases, in which cases one would do that. What about all of the other elements of a land reform program? So we have to acknowledge, for a start, that we haven't sufficiently changed the inherited patterns of land ownership and the racial disparities when it comes to land ownership.
I think there have been some advances, but I don't think that we had all the resources to execute a land reform program as we should have done, which was to benefit many more South Africans, particularly black South Africans, and especially women, than we should have done. So it remains an issue that has existed over time that requires very, very, I think, careful planning and thought and appropriate policy to ensure that we do reach the objectives that our Constitution aspires to.